everyone, and welcome to In Studio. I'm Emeline, and today we are in studio with a very special guest. Thomas Carli is a 17-year-old musician who does everything from composing to playing countless instruments, but he specializes in drumming. Welcome, Thomas! Woo!
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Amazing.
So, we know each other from school.
Yes,
Um,
sir.
we met in grade 9 on the second week of school because we had a trip, and I still remember we met at like the lunch area, and all we did was talk about Rush the entire time.
Yes, it was a great day.
And because of that, I brought out my Rush albums
Oh
for
my
you.
goodness. Amazing.
So, you are a fantastic drummer. I've heard you play multiple times. What got you into drumming?
Well, I started by playing piano, as a lot of musicians do, when I was about 5 years old, maybe 6 years old. Um, and then I was just playing classical etudes and stuff, and I was like, this sucks. This is not fun. And I was like, drumming, that could be cool. And I remember one day for my birthday, I got an electronic drum set, and then I started taking lessons on the drum set. And then I kind of just fell in love with it, and that's been all I've done ever since.
That's awesome. So you
Yeah.
started at a really young age.
Around, yes, I think I was around 8 when I started.
That's really cool. So
Amazing.
we both go to an art school. How do you think going to a school where your peers kind of think like you and have the same interests has affected you?
Well, it's super beneficial to be able to collaborate with such amazing musicians, especially at Club Watson. I have some of my closest friends there who are just incredible. Um, and it's allowed for me, especially during the pandemic, to explore other things with my friends, and I've made tons of connections with other musicians in Toronto, and it's overall been a great experience at Club Watson. So yeah.
Yeah. So obviously the people that you're in class with, you have other drummers in the class.
Yeah.
So you guys are competitive with each other? Are you guys really supportive? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, so I think the two people you're thinking of are Gabe and Adrian, my two like best friends who are both percussionists as well. I would say it's competitive. We are competitive with each other. It's not so much as like an aggression kind of thing, but it's more, we push each other, right? And it's like you don't want to be the guy who's worse than everyone else, right? So, if someone can do something, I get inspired by them. Like, Adrian would be like, "Yo, check this out. I can do something that's insane." I'm like, "Okay, I gotta go home and practice," that kind of thing. So it's definitely a great relationship I have with them, and it definitely has pushed me to become better.
So healthy competition.
It's healthy competition. Yeah,
That's
exactly.
awesome. So you actually did the entire intro song for this podcast show. I came to you very all like abruptly and said like, "Hey, can you create a song for this random thing that I've never told you about?" What was what was your first thought when I said that?
I mean, anything, especially during the pandemic, anything, I'll do anything. I mean, I'm looking for stuff to do. So, I've done tons of other projects like this, creating music for things, I've known you for a long time. We're very close. Of course, I'm going to do it, and I enjoy making music and stuff like that. So, uh, yeah, that's pretty much it.
That's awesome. How did you create this song? I've never heard something like it before. How did you create it?
Uh, well, it starts with anything. Like I'm sitting at a piano, or in this case, I was sitting at a Logic session, and I try to find one sound that I like. I'm trying to think of what I'm going for, and I wanted something that was, gonna hype it up, but also wouldn't be overpowering. And I was going through sounds, just kind of, and once I find one sound that just drives, like, some spark in my mind of what I want to do next. So for the intro song, it was the clave, those sorry, not clave. What am I thinking of? That like electric piano sound, and I found that and I was like, oh, this is super tight. And I was playing around with that, and I came up with that little boom uh, so I was like, okay, this is great, and I put that in, and then I just kind of layer on top of that bass and guitar, and then I come up with a little melody, and then I put some drums in, and then it kind of just tweaking little things. Most of my life and most of my writing process, just tweaking like this. This could be louder. I could add something
Sure.
here. Yeah.
So you said you start by like figuring out one sound that you like. When did you realize in, your process of growing and creating music that that is how, you find your sound?
That's a good question. I think it varies for different projects. So if I'm doing like like a lot of at Club Watson we're doing a lot of classical composing, so for like strings and choir. So for that, that's not necessarily, I don't get inspired by a sound. That's more of just inspired by something I write. Usually on piano is the main source of what I write on. But I think definitely in this situation or in other situations, for example, I did a school song arrangement, which you sang on, by the way, which was excellent. I did a school song, and that was something like that. When you have something that's so broad and so many different ways you can go, especially when you can use like electronic instruments and it's not in a traditional composed way with classical music, I find that having a sound to start off with is definitely very beneficial.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously, I think you're one of the best drummers I've ever known. Um, what motivates you to keep drumming? Because obviously this takes so much practice, and I can see it in your work. So what motivates you to keep going?
Uh, all it's great questions. Um, I'd say other people. I watch a lot of as any 21st century drummer does. I watch a lot of YouTube, and I see people that are just at incredible levels of playing, and whether it's like a beat that I want to learn or just someone who can play something that's incredible, I'm like, okay, time to go practice. So I'd say it's a combination of that, and then also other like listening to music. Just whenever I hear music, I'm thinking drums. I'm thinking, what could this sound like with drums? And whenever I have a favorite song, for example, I'm like, okay, let me try playing it on drums or something. So I think that's definitely those two things are definitely the things that keep me motivated.
Sure. Um, so obviously inspiration is a huge motivation. Who or what inspires you the most?
Oh, jeez, these are heavy. Uh, I'm gonna say two. I'm gonna have to say two people. First, for composing, there's a film composer named Thomas Newman, who I love film composing, who is just, in my mind, amazing. He's like changed film composing forever, and the way he works with film and music is incredible. And I think that he's someone that I definitely look up to and definitely inspires me when I'm writing. Um, and then I'd say the second person would be Neil Peart. Like the guy is first of all one of the most amazing drummers ever. Maybe the most amazing drummer ever. It's a hard statement to even talk about. That's a whole other podcast. But I mean, not just him, but his life was very difficult, and I find it very inspiring through all the stuff he went through in the '90s with his, not to get too dark, but his wife died and his daughter died within a year, and he was able to bounce back from that is very inspiring to me. And I think that if he can do that, I can. And anytime I'm feeling down, I can definitely bounce back.
Yeah. Wow, I mean, if you bounce back that hard, then good on you.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
so we're in high school right now, and it kind of feels like the future, especially in this pandemic, everyone's talking about the future, but it kind of feels so far away. But right now, from your 17-year-old self, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Wow. Well, I'd love to get a university degree. Uh, Despite what other rock and roll and musicians have done in the past, dropping out of high school and whatnot, I would like to get a degree just because I think, I think it's important, not only for just learning, but also if music doesn't work out, it's good to have, some sort of education to fall back on. Not saying that I want to fall back on it, but I think it's definitely a good backup plan to have some sort of university degree.
Yeah,
So in 5 years, hopefully I'll be like 22, maybe finishing off some sort of degree and then going from there.
sure. And how about 10 years? Your ideal
Oh,
10 years.
my ideal 10 years? It's very hard for me to answer that because there's so many different things I could do. Like I could be a touring musician. I'd love to at some point tour the world, and play music. I think that'd be such a cool experience. However, you can't do that forever. So I would love to also probably do a lot more writing. Maybe film composing in 10 years would be an ideal situation. Either doing that here in Toronto or maybe even moving to the States. That could be definitely an option if I can get a green card. That's always the problem.
Well, if you go on tour, I'm expecting to come along.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So, I've asked you to prepare some sort of showcase for us today.
Yeah,
You're cool to do that now?
absolutely.
All right, I'll turn off my camera and the floor is yours.
Okay. I'm just gonna do a quick little drum solo here.
Yes, that was awesome. I was like dancing in my seat. Like
Thank you.
that was so good. So, okay, wow.
Thank you so much.
You're a drummer in a band.
Yes, I am.
Um, Plug, you can say
Yeah.
your band.
So yeah, I play in a band called Blue Opaline. We're currently on just a little bit of a hiatus because of this pandemic. We've tried to do stuff during it, and it's very difficult to stay motivated, just because our whole. I think one of the main aspects is that we're young, which won't be a thing in like 2 years when this pandemic's over. So it's like it seems a little bit pointless. However, we've stayed in touch, and I'm still writing with a bunch of the guys in the group, and we've been able to communicate, and we're trying to get some stuff done. However, it's a slow process in the pandemic just because we keep going into lockdown, and then we have no idea when things are going to open up again. So it's a little bit frustrating. But yes, I do play in a band.
And where can people find it?
Yeah, we have a website, blueopalinetheband.com.
I'll put it in the description.
I don't even know it, man. Ridiculous. Yeah, if you search up Blue Opaline the band, you'll find our stuff. But we're also on Instagram, blue_Opaline. We have Facebook, we have YouTube. Yeah, so check us out for sure.
Awesome.
Oh, and of course Apple Music and Spotify and all those things. We have an
I will
EP
link
on
it
there.
all in the description.
Yeah, for sure.
So obviously most people, especially in high school, aren't in a band. So what's that like? What's the sort of schedule? I know, you rehearse on Sundays. How long does each song kind of take to go from the idea to the finished point? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we do a rehearsal every 2 weeks on Sunday mornings. Actually, depending on our schedule, we'd sometimes do weekly rehearsals. And songwriting is usually just I know Ariana, the lead singer in the band, Ariana Serrani. She writes a lot of the stuff that we have out right now. And we've had some mixing with some members. We've had different members be in the band over the past couple years. But I think mainly it's the process. It starts with one person brings in an idea, and then another person says, "Oh, I can try this on top of that. Like I'll bring in a groove, or I'll bring in a riff idea." And then Ariana has a book of lyrics that she's always writing down ideas for lyrics, and then she'll add on top of that, and then it's a building process. So I think sometimes people will come in with full songs already made, like a full demo, and then we'll just play it like that. But I also think we do a lot of writing together with what we know on our instruments.
That's awesome. So how did this band start and how did you get into it?
Well, this band's been around for a long time. I think it started maybe 3 or 4 years ago. It started off with Ariana and some other people, but then over the years, members have changed. And in September of 2018, I knew Ariana before, and she gave me a call and she said she's looking for a new drummer. And so I auditioned and I got in, and that was great. And then I played my first show, I remember, in November of that same year.
That's awesome. So let's talk a bit about your parents. They're both very musical. Could you tell us a little bit about what they do?
Yeah. So my mom's in the Toronto Symphony Orchestra. She plays violin. She's been playing in the orchestra for like a long time, since she was like 22, I think, or 23, something crazy like that. So she's been in the orchestra for a very long time. And my dad is a film composer and a saxophone player. And they actually met in playing in the orchestra together, which
Aww.
is pretty funny. Yeah, my dad actually was in a band at the time called the Rhinos. I'm wearing their shirt right now, and yeah, they met. He would sub in with the symphony, and that's how they met, which is pretty funny.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So obviously you grew up in a very different environment. How did growing up surrounded by music influence you?
Well, I would always go to see my parents' concerts for one thing. Like I would go to the Toronto Symphony often. However, I think it also was good because they introduced me to so many different types of music and how important it is to know and to be familiar with all the types of music that there are. So, for example, like I remember when I first got my first iPod when I was in I think grade 6 or something, or maybe I was younger, but my dad would download all this music on my iPod, and I'd have so much music to listen to, and it was really, really helpful because it got me off at a young age listening to great bands, and it helped me totally fall in love with music. So I definitely have him to thank for that. And then also my mom. I mean, they're both excellent musicians, right? So anytime I have any questions or have any idea about something, I want to know something, I can just ask them, and they know they've lived the life of a musician, so they know everything, and it's definitely been helpful, especially for someone who wants to go into music.
So going off that, do you think having parents that are talented have put more or less pressure on you with your own music?
I mean, I do think that there is. I think definitely they have helped me, like when I was younger and stuff. But I think definitely when I'm creating something or when I'm practicing, I do want to impress them, and I do want them to think, I'm doing something cool. Like when I show them my stuff, I'm always wanting to impress them, be like, check it out. I want to do this too. Like I want to do what you guys do. Check out what I've done. Is this good enough? Like that kind of thing. But I mean, of course, they're super supportive, and I'm very, very thankful that they have that support, and they're supporting me through being a musician as well.
That's awesome. So your dad, Robert Carli, has worked on many shows and Murdoch Mysteries, and he's won awards for stuff he's done. What was that like growing up when he was just your dad? How has that kind of impacted you?
I mean, I it's a good question, but I think it was, to me, like I don't think it really hit me until I was like, I don't know, maybe 13 or 14. To me, he was just my dad. Like I didn't know. Like, and I wasn't really interested in what he did for a long time. So I was like, okay, whatever. He goes into his studio and he writes whatever. I don't care. Like I'm like 8. I don't whatever. But I mean, especially in the past couple years, I've thought it to be very interesting to see someone like him who's been so successful in an industry like film, and it's very helpful to learn all the things from him. And he's experienced like a lot. Like he's experienced everything, and I think that's super, super helpful. And it's great for me to learn from some of the stuff he can tell me. So it's cool having him as a dad, and I think it's definitely a very cool experience to be able to learn from him. That's
awesome. So we're gonna play a quick game, but before that, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's been, yeah, I think we've covered everything.
It's time to play Quick Quirky Questions! Woo! So I'm going to ask you a series of questions, and I'm going to give you 35 seconds on the clock, and we're just going to go as fast as you can, okay? Just answer as many of them as we get through. So I'm going to move over here so I can read them better. Okay, are you ready?
No, but let's go. Let's do it anyway.
Okay, 35 seconds on the clock. Here we go. Instagram or TikTok?
Instagram.
Comedy or action?
Action.
Cats or dogs?
Cats.
Spotify or Apple Music?
Apple Music.
Movies or TV shows?
Movies.
The Beatles or the Stones?
The Beatles.
Cake or cupcakes?
Cake.
Favorite Rush album?
Moving Pictures.
Nice car or nice house?
Nice house.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
What do you put in a toaster?
Toast.
No, you put bread. You're wrong.
Oh, man!
That was so good. You got them all in on time. That was really good. All right, well, thank you so much for coming on the show today, Thomas. That was super fun having you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast.
And after, we'll have to get together and like jam out and have some fun times. And I'm expecting those drumming lessons.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks so much for coming. And I will link a bunch of your information in the description.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. I really hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. If you want to be notified every time I upload a new video, hit that bell icon. And don't forget to keep dreaming big.